Hi, this is W0TM, or Woodham, also known as Woodham. As you can see from the image, once again, a still image, a lot better than looking at me, or just a card that says W0TM channel. And our two dogs, Blaze on the left, up on the couch, is sleeping away in the afternoon nap, and the little white fur ball on the right on the floor is our daughter's dog, Chester, who is visiting for a few weeks to give him a break. He is cooped up in a smaller home during the winter, and we have a larger home with a 2.5 acre yard, and he just loves it here. So every once in a while he take a couple weeks and send him over here and let him have a kind of a vacation. Plus, we spoil him, and he does not get spoiled at home. Anyway, what is the real end goal of the Illuminati, Bilderberg, New World Order, etc.? Call them whatever name you like, elites, so forth. But that's the title of this. And can't really go into details about how I came up with this. As those of you that know me, I've got kind of an eclectic background. I was, just a couple of quick words, was, essentially drafted by the kind of Atomic Energy Commission. And, there's really, like, as far as I'm concerned, there's two parts of each section of our government. There's a shadow portion and the real portion, and I think I was drafted by the shadow portion. I worked for them for a while and finally quit. And during the time that I worked for them, I never once received a paycheck that said AEC on it. It would always say, a donut shop or a gas station in Arizona or something. And what they would always tell me was that, why am I getting a check like this? And he said, well, we've used up all of our budget, and we are able to expand the money that we have to spend by buying up these small companies, using their credit lines, and doing it that way. Well, I believed that for a while, and I don't really believe it now, but that's what they told me then. That's not the reason I quit, though. Quit because they, essentially, I'll keep this short. They drafted me because of things I was doing literally as a teenager, 16 years old, following the works of an inventor who had passed away in 1943 before I was born, by the name of Nikola Tesla. That, as far as I'm concerned, he was born like 500 years before his time. There are people that swear up and down, it's all emotion, they have no proof, that he was an ET, that he was immaculated, that he really wasn't human because he was so smart. I think he was just very smart. There's a tale that says, because he was very much into electricity, most everything he did had revolved around electricity. And he was supposedly in the country that he was born in Eastern Europe, born on at midnight of the worst electrical storm this country had ever experienced. Now, who the heck went back and looked that up, found weather records of some town in Eastern Europe. And I think he was born in 1847. He had died in 1943 at the age of 87. So you do the math. But who went back and looked up the weather records? That may just be an old wives' tale. Somebody made it up. Sounded pretty good. So it got repeated over and over again. Anyway, I was doing a lot of experimentation. Because I pretty much raised myself. Those of you that know me know my father passed away, unfortunately, when I was age 10. My mother had a nervous breakdown. Back then, it was a small town. We stayed one step ahead of the people that do adoptions, and they never quite caught us. And and with the help of an aunt that lived next door, we were not able to go live with them because of, well, several reasons. They had a couple of daughters themselves and so on and so forth. So, and I had several other relatives, but nobody could adopt us. So we stayed where we were. My mother once in a while came home, usually long enough for, adoption people or whoever to come by and see, oh yeah, okay, well, yes, the mother's still here, so we're not going to take the kids away. But essentially, I raised my two younger siblings, one of them a lot younger than me, and I can tell you when you're 12, 13 years old, or 10 years old, changing diapers is not high on your list. It wasn't even when we had children now. It doesn't bother me now as a grandfather, but whatever. That was my background. It just happened to be, I had a science teacher that led me to Nikola Tesla. Why he did that, I have no idea. I was the epitome of a Coke bottle glasses, high water pants, techie nerd, back when techie nerd was not cool. Techie nerds did not get the girls. Back when I was young, you were thought you were an outcast as a techie nerd, and didn't have a lot of friends, or at least friends that were social friends. The other friends I had were also techie nerds, and we sat around and talked Ohm's law and electricity, and I was president of the ham radio club and stuff like that. Why? And the science teacher I just got to be real good friends with for whatever reason. Among other things, I helped him get his ham license, which he had been trying to do for years. Why he couldn't study for it and learn it, it wasn't that difficult, but I helped him get it. In fact, I even administered the test to get him the license. He started me he gave me one book on Nikola Tesla, The Life of Nikola Tesla, written by Nikola Tesla, and he said, you might find this of interest. Well, boy, I sure did. To the point where over the next year, the county and even the city, I would go take the streetcar. We didn't have streetcars back then, late 40s or the early 50s, buses, so forth, to check out books all over the Kansas City area on Nikola Tesla. Then I discovered that the patent office, Nikola Tesla, had registered over 800 patents. They say it's now 700. Well, I can tell you that it's 800. 100 of them, over 100 have gone, I'll just say, missing. The patent office shows no record of them. They show there's a number there, but they show, oh, well, that was just a mistake. That's a blank. There's nothing there. There was never a, well, I read that. In many cases, I have copies of the patents. They'll never see the light of day, and there's reasons for that. So any officials that are watching this, government, so forth, need not worry. All that I know about Nikola Tesla and his amazing inventions are going to die with me. They're going to hopefully come out with people much younger than me many years from now, but coming out now would not be smart, because there are things that he came up with that are that would advance mankind by hundreds of years. The only problem is, and I've said this before, I know it would fall into the hands of the wrong people, and there are very evil people on the face of this earth today. We're calling them New World Order, Illuminati, Bilderberg, various countries, just on and on like that. And some of these secrets, inventions that Nikola Tesla came up with, people furthered, including me. I furthered things like anti-gravity, traveling, or the speed of light, going faster than the speed of light. Never did that, but I came up with it on paper, and it sure looks like it works to me, and other people agree with me that I've shown it to. There's a group of a couple dozen people that are really into this, and we are a very close-knit, very technical group, and we on purpose brought in people that are in their 30s, 20s and 30s to know all this, so that hopefully by the time they're my age, the world will have gotten straightened out and good people will be running it. They can release this information. There'll be free energy, free unlimited energy. You can do that now. You know, just think of H2O, water, hydrogen and oxygen, both of them burn quite easily. I have seen, and I've sat in, and I've driven water cars where 1 pint of water, in fact even less than 1 pint, can run an automobile from one coast to the other. It simply breaks the water apart into hydrogen and oxygen, and then powers the automobile, and then recombines the water after that. So we can just do it over and over and over again with very, very quiet, and anti-gravity, and there's a lot of other things. But with all of this, one thing I believe he achieved that he decided not to, or he may have released it to some people, they may have figured it out. And the fact that you're seeing people that that are in their 90s, 100 years old, so forth, that appear to be in good health, doing things, so on and so forth, it may have happened. Anyway, the ultimate goal of Illuminati, so forth, yes, you can go to a website. Let me find it here. It's called 21 Goals of the Illuminati and the Committee of 300. It's http educate-yourself.org. It's called the 21 Goals of the Illuminati and the Committee of 300. Read that and it'll just scare you to death. But you've probably heard almost all of those things before, including the fact that Committee of 300 engineered the genocide that went on in Cambodia, and as just a run-up of what was planned for the entire world, and it still is. So they say. Whether or not anything on that page is anything more than just made up, I have no idea, but you might want to read that, 21 Goals of the Illuminati and the Committee of 300, but that's not what I'm going to talk about, because I don't believe that's their end goal. They already, less than 1% of the world is in this group, call it, way less than 1%. They own over 60% of the assets of the world, hard assets, intelligence, so on and so forth, other than gold, silver, railroads, airplanes, land, you name it, they own it. And the other 40%, or something like, the other 40% owns almost nothing. And you go into most people, more than half the people in the world, I think I read, earn something like $3 to $4 a day. They just barely stay above starvation. And many people do indeed starve to death every year, or just over 2 billion people in this world out of 7 billion do not have access to clean, drinkable water. I mean, that shows you how bad things are in some areas. And that even includes in some areas in the United States where we think the United States is entirely a first world nation. Well, it's not. There are some bad areas in the United States as well, and areas that, as far as I'm concerned, thanks to politics and who is running the government we have now, is getting worse. More and more people are falling into poverty. I read where the average net worth of the middle class in the United States has fallen by 40% in the last 7 years. Well, what's happened during the last 7 years? And the very poor people have not gone up. The idea was to bring the small people up, people that were poor, and the rich people bring them down. Well, what it did was the very rich people have become very, very, very rich, and the poor people have become extremely poor, and the ones in the middle class have just been clobbered. and getting, clobbered even worse. In the next 4 or 5 years, it's going to just be a hailstorm. It's going to be, just, my prediction is the next 4 or 5 years for the middle class is not going to be fun. Either you're going to move up scale, which is going to be really hard, especially hard to do, and move up into that above 1%, or you will fall out of the middle class and become poor. Be selling your house and living in a trailer, and just on and on like that. So not good. Anyway, and I can't go into details about how I know this, but I'm 99% sure of it because of my eclectic background over the years. I'm now retired. I know people that you wouldn't believe that I know, and you wouldn't know, or you wouldn't believe things that I know. I've always believed that you don't learn a thing by talking. You learn by keeping your eyes open and your ears open, putting remembering things, putting little pieces of puzzles together. 99% of what I hear, I never use, but I remember. For some reason or other, I have a propensity to remember small little bits of trivia. Big things I may forget. Like our dining room, better remember later on today to run up and get some red roses for Valentine's Day coming up on Saturday, or I'm going to be in big trouble. But the small things of the world I tend to remember, and little bits of trivia of things that happened like 25 years ago, boy, I got them down pat. And I'm going to be doing more YouTube videos talking about how we barely avoided World War III due to North Korea shooting a missile, ICBM, over Japan, and that was aimed toward Maui, that only because HARP spotted the fact that the last section did not disengage and fell harmlessly into the ocean. If HARP had not been turned on and caught that, Obama was on a golf course and was ready to push the button to turn North Korea into a sheet of glass. But 5 seconds, I've heard, 5 seconds away from saying, "Yep, do it," blow up North Korea, he was told that nope, the missile is not going to hit Maui, so stand down, and that was the end of that. I'll be doing a YouTube video on that. There's a lot of YouTube videos I'm going to be doing on stuff that I try to do on YouTube videos, as you know, only on things that you have never heard before, you didn't know of. You say, gee, is that possible? And in almost all cases, if you go back to Google News and dig into enough different areas, you will find them. I'll catch that phone later. You will find the details of everything that I'm talking about. So let's just call it New World Order. That's the easiest thing. Illuminati. Let's call it Illuminati. That's the easiest thing. There's only a few thousand people in it, and it's odd people. Most of them are very, very rich. Billionaires, trillionaires, but not all of them are. Some of them aren't even worth $1 million. They're movie stars, they're this and that, and so on and so forth. I have become to believe more and more and more that their ultimate goal is eternal life, not to die. If you put the puzzle pieces together of some of the things they've done, said, speeches, on and on like that, you start to put pieces together. Now, they may be moving into other dimensions. I'm becoming more and more of a believer that there is more than the dimensions that we see around us. There's a multitude, I believe there's a multitude of dimensions. If you put in seventh dimension God, or just put in dimensions God into Google, you'll find all kinds of interesting stuff. Talking about how that the 10th Dimension Society, which I used to be a member of, says and still says that God lives on the seventh dimension. And because he's God, he takes up the entire dimension. There's no room for anybody else. And there are other things that appear on other dimensions, and the ETs and so forth that we see come from two places. Some people, and I think they're both right. If there's, and this is just guesswork on my part, picking up bits and pieces here and there. I don't have proof for it. So, and when I don't have proof, I'll say that. They're ETs, extraterrestrials, so forth, actually coming from outer space, coming from out of this universe, coming from who knows where, and they call them greys and reptile, or reptilians, and it's all kinds of, and they say they've, I don't know, dozens of the different types, and they also say there's some that look just like regular humans that have been here for thousands of years and that walk among us and actually run the world and are in high places. Well, that might be, but anyway, bottom line is Nikola Tesla did a lot of work in into looking into other dimensions and seeing if there was a way for eternal life to not die. And the fact that Illuminati, I'll call it Rothschilds, or one of them in Israel, seem to have so little care for human life, it may be, and it would sure be nice, to give them the benefit of the doubt, that if that was true, that it's because they know that people really don't die, they just go to another dimension. Like, for instance, when 9/11 happened, I knew exactly how that was done, because when I worked for the Atomic Energy Commission in the 60s, I and a few other people started some of the initial work that mass mind control, being able to use extra low frequency, that's between 0.1 hertz and 30 hertz, to control the minds of people in over great distances, thousands of miles, to think you think you're seeing something and you really are, or you really aren't. 9/11, yeah, I believe people really did die, or either they died or they moved to another dimension. I don't know what. I don't know which. There's still a lot that I'm looking into, and I'm old enough that I'll probably never figure out or never learn. But I do believe that from some of the statements that we're hearing from people like Rockefeller, age 98, George Soros, he's over 90. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think some of the other names of people that are in good health and over the age of 90. Some of the things they're saying, that eternal life, not dying or being able to move to another dimension, or just keep on going, may indeed be their ultimate goal. So you may not have as much to worry about as after all. Although I do think they, as a side goal, do indeed have to own not just 60% of the world, but all of it. And indeed to have the great unwashed, call it, the 6.9 billion of us act as wage slaves. We already are. This is a debt-based world, and it shouldn't be. There are very easy ways to get out of that. There are very easy ways to, think what would happen if there was unlimited free energy and there was a way to defeat gravity, to actually not only neutralize it, but go against it. You could have, any and everything could move at no expense, except for maybe, building a frame of a car or some kind of a flying carpet type of thing. And with free energy, but on the other hand, think of all of the great fortunes of the world, what would happen to them. The great fortunes of the world are mostly based on owning oil stocks and mines and farmland and so forth. The one thing you still have to do, you still have to grow food and raise animals, so forth, to have something to eat. But with free energy and so forth, the expense of doing all that would be next to nothing, and you might even be able to come up with ways to, and they're already doing it. They're making call it artificial food, which tastes and look like meat, but and has the same protein, so on and so forth, but is not meat. And I've not had any, but I've talked to people that have eaten an artificial hamburger, and they said, yeah, you put pickle and mustard and the secret sauce on it and so forth, and it tastes just like a Big Mac. It's that's I find it funny, but it may be in another 20 years most of the food we'll be eating will be artificial, manufactured in laboratories, and the food stock animals of the world, the cattle and so forth, well, one, there'll be a need for fewer of them, but also the ones that survive can kind of breathe a sigh of relief. Chickens and so forth won't be chased after because they'll be safe. What they used to be served up on a dinner table will instead be coming out of a laboratory or coming out of a manufacturing facility. So anyway, bottom line, I believe that the New World Order, Illuminati, whatever you want to call them, their end goal is eternal life, never ever dying, and I can't go into many details behind that, but I now am far enough along on it that I am willing to do a YouTube video saying that. It's a good subject of discussion. If you have comments, I'd sure like to have them, and we'll go from there. So anyway, I enjoyed talking about this, and I've discussed it with others, and they've had interest in it. And hopefully they'll share, if that happens, they'll share that with others, like you and me, and all of a sudden we'll have a too crowded world, but that means then we have to push into, going into other worlds and dimensions and planets and so on and so forth, which will be possible. That, in fact, it's already possible, but that's a whole other story. So this is W0TM, and I'm signing off, and see you on the next YouTube. Thanks. Bye.